This is Wellspring, presented by Spectrum Health-Zeeland Community Hospital on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.
And for this Thursday, April the 29th, we welcome once again Sara Donkersloot. Good morning, Sara.
Good morning and welcome to Wellspring. And Drew, it is wonderful to have you on as a guest today because Good Sam is just such a wonderful resource for people in our community. Your mission to end poverty and homelessness, and during COVID, you have just been such a support to so many people in the community. And before I begin, I just want to say thanks for all you've done. So welcome to Wellspring.
Thank you so much, Sara. I really appreciate it.
Before we get further, just to let everybody know, Sara's talking today with Drew Peirce. He is the Executive Director of Good Samaritan Ministries. If you've got a question for Drew, we do have time for maybe a question or two at 616-395-1450, 616-395-1450. So, Sara, I will throw the baton or hand the baton over to you.
Thanks, Gary. So, Drew, tell us about the services that you provide at Good Samaritan Ministries.
No, thank you, Sara. And it's just such an honor to be here, an honor to be with both of you. Good Samaritan Ministries, it's about 50 years old, a little bit longer, and the whole time has been serving the community to end homelessness and poverty in a variety of ways, in ways that engage the community, the faith community, and the broader community in the work we do. So, as you shared, the mission is to end homelessness and poverty. We do that through three main programs that overlap. We are what's known as the HARA in Ottawa County. So we're the central intake for anybody facing homelessness. So we bring people in, we do an assessment, intake, we get them housed as fast as we can, and then we wrap around services of declining rent subsidies and case management and supportive services to make sure they thrive. Two, we offer holistic property management to make sure that we're working with landlords on offering affordable options for people and then giving them the care and the support and the encouragement and coaching. And then we have a program called Circles, which is a long-term journey where we match lower income individuals, we call them leaders because they lead their lives, with allies in the community that walk alongside that journey, helping them to increase their income, decrease debt, increase assets.
Drew, you're executive director, which means, you're leading a very talented and gifted staff. What do you enjoy about your work?
Oh, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, what I love to do, regardless of where I'm working, is this idea of there's this broader story going on in our world and in our community of hope being offered, help being given, people intertwining into each other's lives to help people move towards more thriving and prosperity. And what I get to do in my role is to invite people into that, to invite people to weave their story into other stories, to offer help and to learn and to grow together and to move people from crisis to stability and into thriving. And that's a great way to wake up every day.
And you talk about crisis. COVID has just been that. I mean, many families' housings, have become at risk. So, tell us about the eviction diversion program that was launched last year at Good Sam in response to this pandemic.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of you and a lot of your listeners know about the ALICE data that United Way has put out. This whole population within our county that is working hard, their assets are limited, their income is low, it's constrained, but they're working hard. They're what we say is the group of people in our community that are one crisis away from really falling into poverty. That's a little over 30% of our community in Ottawa County. It's a little over 50% in the town of Zeeland, if you just look at that. It's a high number. Well, all those folks hit crisis at once. We all did. And so all of last year, pre-pandemic, we had helped about 20 families in prevention work, making sure they didn't become homeless. Well, that just skyrocketed because of the pandemic. We had people that couldn't make rent. We had landlords, property owners, that they needed that income to do. And so even before we got going with federal dollars that came in as aid, we had the community foundations of Health-Zeeland And Grand Haven and United Way say, here's some dollars, make sure people don't become homeless. So we helped about 95 families before even the public dollars came into play. And then with some of the relief dollars, we got significant dollars to help people cover back rent, forward rent, and then offer supportive services.
So you talked about 20 before the pandemic. How did it skyrocket then during the pandemic in terms of how many people you served? And, I imagine you had to expand your staff also.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at that, we doubled our budget right away. And it required us to do that. We just started hiring people to come alongside because we knew it wasn't about writing checks. It was about helping that. But then it was also about walking alongside people. So it took a great expansion of our team, unbelievable team. You mentioned that early on, Sara. Incredible team that just dove in and said, I can spend the next 9 months making sure that our county doesn't have a homelessness issue, that we're walking alongside people. We helped about 95 people right away. And then as those federal dollars came in between August and December, we helped 487 families from becoming homeless through eviction diversion.
We got a question before we go any further, and hopefully the caller is staying with us. Good morning. You're on the line with Drew Peirce of Good Samaritan Ministries.
Good morning. I was in a support group, and there's a fellow in a wheelchair, as I am, and he would come to the meetings in a van, Samaritan. I thought it was Samaritan Ministries or Good Samaritan. I'm wondering if you do offer that service for people that are homebound that have to get to meetings.
No, that's a great question. I think it's one of the confusions of a number of nonprofit names that are very similar. I think it's either Samaritan or Samaritas or another organization that offers that transportation services. That's not something within what Good Sam does now.
But thanks for the question, and thanks for providing whom he could connect with, Drew. So, you talked about 20, and all of a sudden now you're up to 400. When you think about those 420 folks, they probably were people, that maybe were on the edge, but all of a sudden now, you're facing the aspect that you can't pay that rent check.
Yeah, it's that whole group. A number of the folks that we work with, they're often early on, they were in the hospitality industry. So they're people that are working restaurants. They're working jobs that really were cut through the pandemic. And it just takes one hiccup and all of a sudden people fall behind. And what a great opportunity for us and our team to come alongside and say, look, we're going to make sure you don't get evicted. We're going to cover back rent. We're going to do some rent going forward, and we're going to offer you some supportive services to make sure that you feel equipped to go forward. Incredible opportunity. I read in an interview, there's some great work happening at the Holland Rescue Mission. I mean, just a really, really neat team there. They reported that in November and December, their intake numbers went down 35% to pre-pandemic last year. So in other words, in the midst of a pandemic, their November and December numbers were down 35% to previous year because they said Good Sam did such a great job making sure that people didn't become homeless and end up here. And they're a great partner. We love working with them, but that just makes us feel great to know the work being done by the team.
Well, you know what, when you share that gives me shivers, Drew, to think about, through the pandemic, how people have just worked together and agencies have worked together. Eviction diversion was part of the latest relief package. How is the eviction diversion program different with this new round of funding?
Yeah, great question. One, it's a lot larger, significantly larger in terms of the public funds that are available and the length of time. But in terms of the process, in the first round of eviction diversion, we were limited by a dollar amount that we could help people out. And these are people that are really struggling. So there was a dollar amount cap. In the new program going forward, it's about a 12-month cap. So checks are much greater because we're able to help people all the way back to last March and 3 months going forward in terms of rent dollars. So the dollar amounts are much higher to help people out and make sure people are really square. Two is landlords don't have to forgive any back rent. In the first round of eviction diversion, landlords had to forgive 10% of back rent. In this version, they don't have to forgive anything. We can also cover utilities backwards and forwards. So this is really going to put people in an incredible position, both landlords and tenants, to make sure that they're covered going back and going forward.
So if people are listening, maybe they're on the edge or maybe they're a tenant, if they want to be part of this eviction diversion program, what should they do?
Yeah, great question, Sarah. There are a few things. One is go to our website, and there's a right on the first page, GoodSamMinistries.com. And it has the online application. So tenants and landlords, either one can start the process to fill it out, and we'll start processing that. Two is we've got hundreds of calls on our list. We've got hundreds of people that we're already trying to work with this. So be patient. We got to prioritize those with court dates. If you've got a court date, make sure you go. Make sure you tell the judge and tell your landlord or tell tenants, hey, we're working with Good Sam, and we'll get that process going to make sure that nobody becomes homeless because of this, nobody gets evicted. So go to the website, start the process with the application. Our team will get to you, and that's the best way to do it.
Well, and I think what you've shared too is, and that's a part of what Good Sam's ministry is. It's supporting one another. It's walking with the person through the journey. It's just not giving them the funds and then leaving and saying, okay. Talk a little bit about that.
So you're right. I mean, that's the big thing of not just the real beauty in all of Good Sam's work. And here's what's so great about it is our housing team is phenomenal. And they've been doing it for years. And to be able to build eviction diversion on top of a housing team that has been moving people out of homelessness for years and really, really successful at it. That's been the strength. And the strength of that is not just the dollars that help with rent subsidies, but the case management, the supportive services, the tools to equip people to overcome challenges that they face. That's all the beauty of what we do. In our normal housing programs, where we're moving people from the mission or from their cars or from the street into housing, our team, those that enter that programming, within 9 months, they're able to handle a little over 95%, handle their full rent burden on their own. Mm. That means they came 9 months ago from their car or from the Holland Rescue Mission, and 9 months later, they're covering their rent. They're on their own. They're thriving. That's because of the incredible case management team and supportive services that are offered.
So, Drew, what opportunities are there for the community to support you as you continue to serve those who are in need in our community?
Yeah, we community support is absolutely critical and has been phenomenal through the last year and years and going forward. There are a few different ways. It's across the spectrum of engagement. So we do everything from, we've got churches and groups that put together welcome baskets. We want to make sure that when somebody's moved into a new home, they've got the supplies they need. That's not a burden. And they know that somebody in the community cares about them. So there's everything from the tangible, some of those supplies, to helping people find housing, to we match volunteers with folks that we move into housing out of homelessness to be a friend and a resource and a coach and encouragement, to a Circles ally that says, I'm going to walk with you over the next 22 months to help you move from stability into thriving. It's across the board. We've got some needs here at the office for some front desk help. As we handle what we estimate to be 1,500 to 2,000 families in eviction diversion, we need some folks that can come in and look at some files and do some auditing and make sure the numbers match so that we're ready to throughput as many people as we can to get help.
Drew, we got a minute left. Can you share a story or an example of hope that you've seen in the midst of this pandemic?
Yeah, I love that, Sarah. I love the way you always think about these things, and it's always about the people. And so I always like to have people tell their own stories in some ways. So let me read a letter that we got just in the last few weeks from somebody that we had helped, and let them tell their own story. They said, to whom it may concern, my experience working with Good Samaritan is a profound one. When I was homeless, staying at the local shelter, I needed to find stable housing and a viable job to support myself. Little did I know that by applying for a housing voucher, my life was going to change for the better. When I was first introduced to Good Samaritan, they helped me find a local landlord with a unique program to occupy a local room with a few tenants. I was especially relieved to have landed a local job and at the same point move out of a local shelter and into a room where I could get back on my own 2 feet. During my stay in the local room, Good Samaritan took it upon themselves to go above and beyond by helping me acquire the things I needed to get started. To those of you who are out there, let it be known that this was a miracle for me. These people worked at Good Samaritan, truly are miracle workers. The work they do is remarkable to the point that your resolve will be strengthened, that there is a higher power out there and he still cares for you. So we've got a lot of those stories of people that I think they were at the end of their rope, and it's understandable so why they feel that sense. So if we can come alongside and say we can give you not only the practical ways to move out of that, but you need to know you've got a family, you've got a community, you've got people you know by name that care about you, that are thrilled for you, that believe in you, and then want to help you move into the next leg of your journey. That helps balance out a lot of the calls we get where people they're scared and they're worried, and we can move beyond that.
Well, Drew, that says it all, and that touches our heart. We're out of time. Thank you for what you and your staff are doing. We appreciate you. Until next week, Spectrum Health-Zeeland Community Hospital wishes you well.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Wellspring, presented by Spectrum Health-Zeeland Community Hospital on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.